Zhao, we know, big for Jiejie. The Viego as well, big for both teams and everyone in general. Irelia follows suit. Nothing too surprising, but an Aphelios first pick for EDG. Now that's all for Viper.
Yeah, early priority on that pick, which is an absolutely carrying. A critical thing is Thresh has been left open, and we often see that support paired up with the Aphelios to give him that safety net, that extra dash, adding mobility to a champion who's already so strong. But there are some picks that can potentially look to challenge him, right? A lot of things that go up against Aphelios and do well are things that outrange him. The Ziggs is still an option that hasn't been banned away, so could see LNG potentially leaning to that. But for now, they'll secure that Gwen, likely for Ale here. A massive pick that if he gets ahead on, he will take over the game.
Third most played alongside the Viego at 6 games. This will be game number 7 as well. I was just looking on the side to see what we've got from Viper. 3 games on the Aphelios, but he's got a 10.7 KDA. But to be fair, hard stats at the moment when you know that EDG are a top 2 team. However, speaking of AD carries, we get the Ashe here, Aux. Something that has been popping up more and more.
Yeah, it's risen in priority quite a bit. I feel like it's not necessarily had any specific changes to the champion itself, but it's just been a really solid one in providing that engage for the team. The utility of the hawk shots as well for getting vision, and also does good amount of DPS. You know, not going to rival the Aphelios, but fairly similar in terms of being able to shred targets that come up. But I really love this adaptation from EDG. The Thresh you very much expect to come out. Something that provides that extra sort of safety net for the Aphelios. You can also land him away from those Ashe arrows. And then the Olaf, because if you have this heavy CC pick in the Ashe, Olaf is a pick that could just completely disregard that and run it down. We see LNG toying with the idea of Leona, but this isn't the best matchup into Thresh. He can just kind of play you away from your engages. And again, that CC not really relevant when applied to an Olaf. Looks like they may well still just want to lock that in, but I feel like EDG on a comfortable spot here.
But you have to talk about LNG. If they do lock this in, as we're getting our usual pick and ban lag, sometimes it happens. What they've actually given over, right? You know, you already mentioned the Thresh being a big pick to partner up with Viper. Meiko's a great Thresh. Has always been a fantastic Thresh in the LPL, and countless splits has shown he's one of the best supports on it as well. So going up against a favorable matchup here is already a great start. As LNG start banning away some more solo laners. I love that we're getting a Rise ban, considering that is actually Icon's most played at 8 games. And seeing LNG ban it is always a little bit surprising.
Yeah, I think just potentially concerned about having another one of those stable sort of backline carries able just to do a ton of DPS, and critically EDG are really good at finding prior mid and then leaning that towards bot lane. So I absolutely agree with shutting down that Rise. The EDG, they can just target junglers here, right? You're pretty sure that Gwen's going to go into the top lane. You start eliminating the picks that are going to cause issues. The Trundle, actually when Trundle jungle was first a thing ages and years ago, it was picked because it was a good matchup into Olaf, so it makes complete sense to target that here. The Volley Bear just going to be another solid jungler with gank pressure. And now LNG, you're going to expect them to pick up a jungler here in this situation. The pool has actually been thinned quite heavily for Tarzan in this situation. We've got essentially 5 jungle bans already come through, so kind of a little bit sort of leaning towards some more fringe picks on the back of this. And they're actually not even going to commit to a jungler yet, potentially. This may be them putting the Gwen in jungle. This may be the situation we dealt with because there's so many jungle bans. They're like, right, well, we don't have anything left that we really want, so we're just going to put the Gwen there.
Maybe it could be about the flexibility as well. Remember that the Renekton in the LPL has often a time gold mid. I want to point out a quick stat before we see the next pick and bans. Ladies and gentlemen, we have 17 unique picks on Icon. If this is Renekton mid, this will be champion number 18 in a regular season. I'll hold that thought, though. We're going to find out where it goes as we get a solo lane Tahm Kench. Once again here, Aux. I love this pick. This dude is literally a fridge.
Yeah, he is just in... He's just not even just a fridge. He's like the fridge from Indiana Jones, you know, when he hides in it to get away from the nuke. He's just invincible. He's an invincible fridge. And it's definitely a really strong pick here for EDG. Can pretty much go toe-to-toe with anything, whether it is that Gwen, whether it is that Renekton, or even something else. And we do see them go for that Orianna in the mid lane. Really strong combo just because it has that shielding, which it helps out Viper on the Aphelios. It helps out Jiejie, but it's also going to be its own damage source, its own threat. And we're looking over to see what LNG are going to prioritize. It seems like they have gone with the direction of putting that Gwen in the jungle, with the pool being so thinned, and potentially looking at something that will be able to contest priority in the mid lane with that Lucian. We'll see what they opt for in the end, though.
good enough time. Remember that scouts only pick up the Orianna once. We do see the Lucian locked in. So, as you said, most likely going over to Icon for game number 4 here on this pick. And for LNG, when the series is so important, when every game is so important as well, for both of these teams, just to round out standings in the split. Also, I want you to walk me through the drafts, because LNG, it looks like tempo will 100% be the name of the game.
Yeah, they really need momentum in this one. I think Icon needs to be applying a lot of pressure mid that can give Tarzan some freedom, get that point to where he feels relevant and he can start to step up. And the Lucian as well can sort of use his enhanced range in this situation, because your culling can just shred from a distance that EDG aren't really able to sort of come up against. You can play around picks on the back of the Ashe and Leona as well. The problem is, I think EDG have a massive advantage here. They've got these really strong scaling carries. They have a super beefy front line when it comes to front to backs. They have so many tools to keep allies safe with the Tahm, Kench, with the Thresh, Lantern. And I think, simply put, all they need to do is just play through the strong priority they have in the top side, around Tahm, Kench, or even around the Aphelios Thresh, and then just lean that around the map, and it allows Jiejie just to do what he wants, because the Gwen, not really the strongest skirmisher pre-6, and I think this Olaf can really take over. So for me, I think EDG have a lot of tools, a lot of things they can play through, and I think kind of for the side of LNG, you're hoping that Tarzan just has a monster pop-off game on this Gwen.
You really are. You're hoping that Tarzan has a great time, and as you said, the solo lanes get themselves into an advantage where Tarzan can build off the back of it. Tarzan, with his success, has changed throughout the meta. Orcs, you were saying so well yourself at the start of the broadcast as to how LNG have changed as the meta has changed as well. We are going to strong lanes through here, especially through the solo lanes. We'll see how Tarzan can impact there and how he can build this game up to a quick tempo advantage. Or if EDG can play EDG style, which is clean, calm, collected. It is such an Edward Gaming draft here as we roll into Summoner's Rift for game number 1. EDG looking for top 2 security with a series win here. As cleanly as possible as well, I might add, before they face off against FPX. On the other side, LNG, they need this series win for top 6 security, which means they start in round 2 of the 2021 Summer Playoffs. A lot on the line here as we're in our last week of the LPL Summer Split.
And honestly, a big thing for me is this Tahm Kench top, because I feel like allies pick this Renekton so that you have a chance at just sort of even doing anything in lane. But the Tahm Kench is just so strong, I don't even think you match up into him. This is kind of like the unstoppable lane. And on top of that, if EDG opt to go, mid pressure, lean that towards the bot lane, and then leave Flandre at an island, he doesn't care. Again, he's that invincible fridge. He can kind of just chill it out. He's very hard to dive for the side of LNG. We do see that Tarzan actually gone for the exhaust here, so trying to make himself have a bit more dueling power in those early levels.
Yeah, interesting summoner choice, right? I also want to point out that we're once again seeing the Lucian with Airy here. It's been talked about on previous broadcasts, having a bit more lane presence, lane potential as well, and we look for those small trades that Scout can get bursted down by.
Yeah, allows you to really take control. And I think this is the important thing, because that is the lane that's going to sort of guarantee you priority until the Orianna sort of gets a lot more mana and first item. Icon's just going to be able to pressure that lane. In the top side, it's a bit more tricky because Flandre can obviously trade well into Arle. In the bot side, you can apply pressure, and Ashe is good at pushing, but depending on the weapons Viper has, there's a lot of situations where he can just sort of take control. So you can see already, Arle has slight priority in the top lane. You see the bot lane has slight priority, but look at mid, right? Icon is just already pushed up into the tower. He's put that ward into the rafters. This is very much the lane that's providing the most pressure for LNG, and that they're really reliant on to sort of give them space to play around.
Ward just going to give such great tracking, as you mentioned. Jiejie also spotted out. There are a lot of tracking tools here. Light on the Ashe as well with Hawkshot. Gonna know where Jiejie is pretty much all states of the game. Means as Tarzan moves towards the bottom side as well, we can talk about how these junglers get started in the game. Already Icon pushing in. I love this, because you did say that Tarzan is going to rely a lot on his laners here in this game to get proactive and to get the ball rolling.
Yeah, and especially when it comes to your first clear into Scuttle, it's very important that you have someone who can move and assist you. And now, because we have that hard prior mid, we have, Light and Lwandy being a little bit ahead in terms of priority in the bot lane. It means Tarzan can just take that bot Scuttle really easily. And now you can see EDG, they're kind of desperate to look for this topside skull. If Jiejie loses both of these, is a really rough spot. So he's beelining straight over there. But we are going to see LNG try and move down and respond. It looks like he is going to be able to get this and get out, though. Played it close there, but Jiejie making a great decision and able to secure that one.
Amazingly close window, right? If it's a couple of seconds later, they're Orcs. Tarzan's there, Icon's there, Ale's there as well. They all in, and Jiejie might even lose a scuttle or lose his life. So we'll manage to pull that one out, get a quick back underway as well, and return to Summoner's Rift while Tarzan's still on the map for now. And the lanes continue out. We're going to keep tracking these lanes, especially for LNG side, as Aux has already set the condition for you guys. See the Lucian in mid, 5 CS up is a great start. Top side as well, Ale still has the shove. But now that Viper and Meiko are level 3, they're able to get the push in themselves. CS is even down here. And I am curious as to what happens in the bottom lane, because Enchanted Crystal Arrow, Solar Flare is still a big all-in that we have to keep track of, Aux.
Yeah, it definitely poses a lot of threat, and honestly, I think Meiko has to be the target 9 times out of 10, because Viper has that cleanse, Viper has that lantern. These tools make it actually kind of tricky to engage onto him. You may see LNG throw ults out just to burn those summoners, and then they wait for the second cooldown before they can use it again. But for the most part, you wait for a window where Meiko's a little bit overextended and engage onto him, and that's absolutely possible. Again, as you said, LNG's bot lane has so much CC, so much setup, that at that level 6 point, they really need to be sort of respected. Ooh. And with Icon having...
Oh, he's flashed for it. Tongue lash on Ale. He got him! He licks him to death! That was an unexpected solo kill, but Flandre does it in style.
I mean, I was talking about bot lane, and he just finds the window, the opportunity, and this is kind of rough for Ale, because if you lose that kill, you give that extra gold income to the Tahm Kench. You see, Ale actually had a pretty decent start to the lane, but now Flandre is going to be in a really comfortable position, able to pick up a lot more bulkiness, a lot more damage with that Bami Cinder, and we can see it's just Ale kind of disrespecting the damage of the Tahm Kench. He has so much sustain built into his kit on the back of that sort of grey health, on the back of every time he tongue lashes, he heals. And Ale, having used his cooldown for that previous trade, just gets chased down. The stun connects, and I mean, look how much damage the tongue lash does. This is, I mean, I know it's early, so he hasn't really had time to buy items, but this is a tanky champion who still outputs just a ridiculous amount of damage.
I mean, you already set us up at the top. You said, oh, I don't know about the Tahm Kench. Aux, you were dead on. You were spot on with how the matchup's looking now. Flandre now with half a level lead as well.
I mean, look
at it. Ale getting devout. He's level 6. Renekton wants to walk in. He doesn't have his own ulti. He's getting licked to death once again. Now, dominance has been achieved. It could be turned around as Flandre still with the grey health, and that can turn into a shield very quickly. Ale has to back away after popping his own ulti. Flandre starting to spit out his food in this top lane.
Oh my lord! I mean, it was so good that he got the dominance there. Otherwise, he would have just gone down. But you can see Flandre just walks at him and out-trades him. He just walks at him, auto-attacks him, throws a couple of tongue lashes, and he just wins that. It's really difficult for the Renekton at this point. And again, you don't pick Renekton, so you're like, okay, well, lane went a bit rough, but at least you can lean into, you know, the scaling. That's not what you pick Renekton for. You pick him to dominate lane, and that's what Ale's been trying to do, but he's kind of hit this sort of roadblock at this point where things are going to be a little bit more difficult, and you don't really have a solution to this because Tarzan, it's kind of what we expected. He has just been farming for the entire game so far. He's been playing to sort of get into a comfortable position on the Gwen because she isn't the most active early jungler. And in fairness, Jiejie has also not been able to find angles themselves, so I think Tarzan's fine with that, but it does mean that his laners have kind of been left in isolation.
But let's remember what we set up for the wing conditions. I want to talk about dragons and stuff in a second, but on your point there, it's not that Jiejie has to do anything, right? The game just has to go comfortably for EDG. We talked about scaling. It is more so that Tarzan, now that he's 6, has to start thinking about where his options are, especially around these neutral objectives coming up.
Yeah, and I think it's critical that, you know, with EDG, a straight up front to back, they're going to be very comfortable with the Orianna, with the Aphelios. I think for LNG, it's very sort of pivotal on you having your carries be strong. I think if Tarzan is fed, it does change the dynamic of how things go later in the game. You can sort of bank on that for such a long time. So I'm hoping to see some skirmishes come out. You now have level 6 for Tarzan, and they are looking for something mid, but Scout able to dodge away from my Lwandy.
It was the Zenith Blade that doesn't connect as well. Light doesn't have the Enchanted Crystal Arrow. It's just a Hawkshot set up on our screen. Viper and Meiko sticking down in the bottom lane, but big rotation here, Orcs, because LNG eyes on the Rift Herald, it seems.
Yeah, and it's good to see this. This is sort of proactivity we want. They want to be setting up an advantage for themselves, so playing for the Herald is pivotal. And I think on the other side, I expect to see EDG just take the Dragon as sort of a response, which obviously is great for them leaning into the scaling. You start to pick some more dragons, you feel very comfortable, you get those extra stats already. But I think it seems like for now they are going to prioritize taking the blue buff first.
They are. Scout's going to take a full culling to the face, half HP. The matchup continues however expected. Icon getting a shockwaved in though. Steps a little bit too far forward. Scout with some great trading after the plate was taken. But Icon will just be able to back away. Not going to get punished here as Jiejie is still on the bottom side.
And he's actually not even opted for the Dragon. He's just trying to deny as many camps as possible from Tarzan. It's like Tarzan's toying with the idea for dive.
Right. Yeah, the dive not going to come through, though. Flandre has the shield. It's hard to dive at Tahm Kenches. He's going to now start tanking it up. Ale not there anymore. And blocked through efficiently by LNG.
Yeah, really strong play. Honestly, looked like it could have been a bit of a tenuous one for Flandre, but he wasn't full HP. The grey health, they just dropped aggro when it came up and then waited until he was an easy target to pick up. And again, Tarzan and Ale both pretty bulky right now, able to withstand a fair few tower hits. And now they throw down the Herald top. This is going to be an instant first tower take, so a ton of gold going into the pocket of LNG's jungle and top laner. Even after Ale made that mistake earlier, is now 800 gold up. Tarzan's 1,000 gold up. This is exactly what LNG needed to sort of get some momentum in this game. And again, EDG take the Dragon in response, but it's not really a big payoff right now. It's the sort of thing where you're investing almost. It's like, cool, we have one Dragon, we can lean that into more later, but it's definitely LNG taking the win here.
And remember as well that, you know, Tarzan, part of the gold advantage he just picked up was from the kill that was on that top laner of EDG. The top laner of LNG, folks, remember as well there with Flandre. But 1-0 picks up the Riftmaker flat out. Look at the item advantage over junglers. After sharing in that first turret blood gold, this is big, Aux, and as you said, this is what LNG needed. Better late than never, but now we have to see how it evolves further with a longer top side lane.
Yeah, and the thing is, a pick like Gwen can be so problematic because if he, you know, the W from Gwen can really stop Scout and Viper doing too much damage, and it just can cause havoc for your backline carries. If they're not able to cut through Tarzan, if Tarzan trades his life even for Viper, then I don't think there's enough damage in the later stages. Now Flandre is in trouble.
He thought he was okay in the end. He flashes away. And unfortunate there for Flandre, already 20 CS behind, getting zoned off the wave that's crashing into the turret. And LNG are really doubling down on Ale's lane.
Yeah, they're trying to, you know, there was that issue before when he got solo killed, but able to commit these resources, able to cause issue for Flandre when he's just a bit overextended. Kind of haven't seen Tarzan really lean to the bot side at all. And we can see they're sort of changing the dynamic mid lane. Obviously, Icon had that early priority, pretty much just established completely. But now that Scout has that lost chapter, has a bit more damage behind him, level 9, so his Q is maxed for that extra wave clear, you can see Icon isn't able to sort of contest that priority as easily and has to be a bit more respectful of these trades. So EDG feeling a bit more comfortable in that regard, but you know, they still have to deal with the threat that is Tarzan, that is Ale with these big gold advantages. I
mean, they're losing their top side of jungle because of those gold advantages. Ale pushing through and pretty much taking anything that's available. Now, lucky the Gromp wasn't there, is already taken by Flandre, but you can see, might actually have a little bit of a scuffle with Jiejie, who's back towards the top side of the map for now. And, you know, early game's been slow, guys. It's only been 2 kills, 12 minutes, but again, we come back to what LNG should be doing in this game. I feel like Aux' next objective is going to be a big talking point because that's when LNG are going to have to start scaling it up, have to start picking up some of these neutrals to get the game moving further.
Yeah, they just want to keep finding that momentum and applying it. And again, allocating gold to their carries so they remain relevant, so they can punch through EDG's front line. Because I think the thing with Tahm Kench with Olaf is when they're behind, they don't even feel that tanky. You can kind of just shred them. But when they're ahead, they feel literally immortal. And EDG are the ones looking here to make that proactive play. The mid priority they have means they can move Scout down. And Tarzan's nowhere near. Ale has no TP. This could well just be LNG being zoned away. They feel comfortable staying on a tower, but they're going to lose another plate here. And it's just been this constant pressure coming out from Viper Meiko.
I mean, he's picked up 4 turret plating now. That's a great achievement here when the Aphelios pushes it down so fast. He's 20 CS ahead of line. And is right now sitting 700 gold in the lead in the AD carry matchup. Always a good sign of your scaling being well and truly on the way. When you see an Aphelios having a great laning phase and being able to push a turret down, 3 plates expiring. I mean, look at this. Light and Lwandy still push back, not taking anything like a Zenith Blade, they might not find the response turret, but it's still enough to put Viper in a position of first item territory.
And this is why this lane is so difficult for LNG, because they have all this CC, but if they go in and their cleanse comes through or Meiko flays away his Zenith Blade, they could easily end up overcommitting and just dying. And so as a result, they have these tools and they've kind of just been sitting on them. It's been, you know, just kind of sitting back, trying to collect farm when you can, and EDG have just been establishing dominance. And now that mid lane feels a lot more comfortable, EDG feel really solid across the board. We do have a dragon in 50 seconds now. I don't think there's a huge emphasis on either team needing to prioritize this, but you can see LNG are looking to secure this one. They don't want to delay Soul by any more. That first dragon take by EDG, the way you always think about it is, let's say LNG want to play for Soul and make that a win con. By EDG taking that first dragon, that's delayed it by 5 minutes, right? So if they let them take another, that's delaying it by 10 minutes in total. The Soul would be so late in the game that really EDG just can kind of sit back and wait. So LNG are trying to make a massive effort here to move in, get control, get priority. Icon going to TP in to contest this wave, and it looks like we can get a full-on fight for this objective.
Scout TP'd in as well. Flandre's in the top side still with teleport available. Ale already moved down and is hiding in Fog of War. Folks, look at where EDG are for now. Moving straight into River, while the rest of LNG hovering in the outskirts, in the outside territories. Couple of wards down the back of the pit. There's a good TP ward for Ale as he moves back to the top side, but no one touching the dragon, and I'm not really surprised. I mean, EDG, not known as the quickest team here, as maybe onto Jiejie. That changes Dark Passage with a Ragnarok. TP now used by Ale. Flandre sitting in the base, and just for that, thank you. We'll take the dragon.
That's all they need. You know, they force EDG to back off just because without the ultimate, the Olaf is pretty useless. And now LNG want to push that advantage more, take that red buff away. And again, Ale and Tarzan are the two strongest on the team right now, and they're looking to push for more.
Now Jiejie has to burn the flash. That's not what you want to see, but Shockwave over the wall with an undertow. Oh my god, Tarzan didn't see that one coming as EDG now have numbers advantage. Ale in no man's land as Dominus won't save him, grabbing him with a double kill over the Scout. LNG way too deep. You got the objective. Why did you think you could get more?
They end up overcommitting, and again, Tarzan used his W very early, doesn't have flash available in his kit, so obviously not able to respond to the shockwave. And in all this, we still had Flandre pushing in the top lane. So waves missed from the side of LNG, the tower getting threatened, and now with that strength of the map, EDG can go for that Rift Herald. So a massive flub coming out from LNG there. And again, so the critical thing is Tarzan, right? In this sort of exchange here, pops his W down. He doesn't have flash, he hasn't taken it. So the shockwave, no way for him to avoid it. And he just gets absolutely annihilated by Scout. And then LNG are in this really uncomfortable position where Ale wants to try and fight back. But to do so, he has to dive over the wall. Viper and Meiko step up. Meiko flashing forwards and forcing all the mobility from Icon to get away. It was just really well played from EDG to respond to that. But again, as you said, why did LNG go for this when they already secured the objective? You could take the reset, you could catch the side waves, you could play for the Herald, but instead they get a bit too greedy at stealing enemy camps.
Oh man, that's just, you know, that's a real shame. When LNG picked up their first dragon, and sure it's a Cloud Soul, but it looked like the game was evolving to some degree. What are we looking at the bottom right here? It's Jiejie who started up the Rift Herald after backing, but Tarzan respawned, so it is a double Herald game for LNG. That'll give them some more gold here, Orcs, and I want to talk to you more about how the game needs to evolve from here after the mistake from LNG. Now with the Herald in hand, what you do to kind of seize more of the map.
I think you have the option of obviously trying to knock down the mid tower, but the problem is you didn't use the first Herald mid, and the second Herald is unlikely to get you that mid tier 1 unless you have some extra health. The problem is right now, Scout can just massacre waves, right? He's level 13, so his Q and W are maxed. Oh, they are looking for something here on Viper.
Hey, old teammates fighting back a little bit here. Tarzan misses with the needlework, and now saved by an angry man with an axe. Jiejie knocks him down, Viper survives, and LNG on the escape path. Viper taking that was very risky, but he still lives, and another mistake by Tarzan.
Yeah, I mean, he had the right guns to deal with that situation. Tarzan gets up in his face and he just absolutely shreds him. And I think the game plan was to lean into that bot lane. You take that tier 1, potentially even a tier 2 if you can push the Herald deep enough. And that's a big influx of gold, especially if you can get down Tarzan, it can be really strong. But you see, they look for Viper and it's just the red and white guns. Gets that massive heal from the ultimate to sort of mitigate that early damage. stacks shackles critically there, is able to dodge away from the snip from the Gwen. And, you know, the sort of stopwatch there from Tarzan was kind of desperation. He didn't really have anything more to follow through, and EDG very quickly collapsed. And now, got about a 2,000 gold lead just under. They're feeling pretty comfortable at this point. They feel solid because Tarzan has been shut down 2 times in a row. And this Gwen pick, again, needs momentum to work against EDG, because if you just walk up to Scout and Viper, they will just absolutely shred you. And they're getting such a large influx of gold. Scout, 209 CS, coming up on 90 minutes in the game. Viper obviously got all those plates earlier as well. These carries are really coming online.
More than 10 CS a minute here for Scout, further to the point. Those kills that went over, the almost 2 items, they're trying to jump onto him. Good sidestep here as Culling starts hitting the shockwave to disengage, but Scout, as he flashes away, should know that he's dead. As the kill goes over to Icon and the bounty as well to a now 1-0 Lucian. He should be getting a little bit more on the bottom wave as Herald's going down too. Good for LNG to punish and start bringing the game back.
Yeah, and it's kind of the play they wanted to happen with Viper. They go for the repeat and they're able to make it work. This is where they want to throw the Herald down to get those towers, but they didn't even throw it down with the waves, so we won't actually get anything more from it. We won't even get the tower right now, and Jiejie can just kind of cleave it through the waves. So it's, you know, as much as the kill is a positive, the Herald usage a bit rough, and LNG not really getting as much out of that play as you would have hoped. And now the play for the Dragon is likely going to be next on the agenda, but Scout is going to be back up in time, has that TP, doesn't need to necessarily use it. And we saw before that LNG were very easily able to pick up the Dragon just by forcing the ultimate from Jiejie, but I feel like that's the thing, is that if EDG don't feel comfortable on a fight, they don't have to push this, right? They can just back away and go, okay, this wasn't the right fight for us. Enemy team gets 2, they're going to be on 2 Dragons. You still have plenty of time, and it's a Cloud Soul. It's not the most concerning one to be up against.
Oh, look, Orcs, let's be honest, Cloud Soul, a little bit in the garbage category in comparison to the rest of them in Summoner's Rift right now. Never been a huge fan, and EDG taking it just means that, well, we might not be seeing LNG with a Dragon Soul this game at all if we go to that 40-minute mark, which feels like what it's going to take to pick up a soul for either team. There's 2 Dragons here for EDG. Now hovering around Baron. LNG getting a little bit desperate here. And I love Orcs. You know, I was looking before as we started show. LCK was in a bit of a pause. I just love that we've got a 6-kill game in 21 minutes here. They've gone from LCK, come over to the LPL, expected blood, and they're just met with cute tension on Summoner's Rift.
Yeah, both teams just trying to push those advantages, but you can see they're not committing to fights as much as we typically see. They're sort of waiting for those opportunities, waiting for those moments, trying to eye up, is this favorable for us? And it's quite interesting to see, but I feel like for LNG, that they're starting to feel the rough end, and I think compositionally, EDG very comfortable with this setup. You know, you have 2 items plus a little bit extra coming in for Viper, 2 items for Scout, and I am going to be pretty scared at how much damage these 2 are capable of putting out. And as you were saying about the Dragons, if LNG pick up every Dragon from now on spawn, it's going to be 35 minutes for a Dragon Soul. It's just, and again, it's a Cloud Soul. As you said, it's nice. You're not going to complain about some extra movement speed, but it's not exactly going to instantly win you the game. And if you're playing for 35 minutes to get that, it's not ideal. And I think EDG, the main thing I think they've done really well this game is know when to back away. I think we saw that when Jiejie gave up the Herald earlier. We saw that when they backed up from the Dragon. They know they don't need to fight everything, and that's why we have such a low kill score, because, you know, if they felt more forced by sort of the pressure from LNG or potentially a scaling element, then we could have seen them commit to these fights and be like, no, we have to try and take this. But they have very much sort of stepped back at times and just gone, we're comfortable taking this game late.
Every single member on that team of EDG right now just hitting towards the second item. You know, it is becoming a reality. The 2-item collector Aphelios there with 237 CS. Viper and Scout farming more than 10 CS a minute. Scout must be taking all lanes all the time. He's just hit 250. Remember, he died once as well. As he moves down to the Baron area, I'd be scared if you get caught out here as a Death Sentence going to do exactly that. The Abyssal Dive, Lwandy sent straight upward. At least he's going to a better place as EDG now with a 5 versus 4. LNG caught out at the 22-minute mark.
And this is the point where EDG's gone, right, we're comfortable. You know, we have this super bulky front line. We have this pick potential with the Thresh. They find one, and now they can move on to it.
Oh, no.
And again, you have huge DPS onto that Baron. You have so much bulkiness that they're not going to get threatened. LNG need to move in, but they're struggling. The Lantern comes out.
And the arrow goes nowhere, crucially as well. Death sentence over the wall. Vipers hit Tarzan again. The abyssal dive timing is spot on from Flandre. Down with the Baron, and now for the Tahm Kench to get another meal in his belly. Scout with his shockwave still available, and Icon now being zoned away. Another good dive as Flandre flashes with the Tug Flash, predicts with the Gale Force, and now Icon has to burn his own. Viper poking him down, and LNG have just lost everything, Orcs. I feel like this is such an early nail in the coffin.
It felt like a switch was just sort of turned. The EDG still looking for more.
Here? I wonder, you died again. Why are you there? It's an Olaf and a Tahm Kench. They don't die anymore.
Care. They just don't care. Towers are irrelevant, and this is kind of the point I was worried about, where EDG hit and they go, you guys good? We good? Yeah, okay, let's just win the game. And it just feels like LNG can't really do anything. You know, we talked about Ale and Tarzan. Those two start to fall behind. They just aren't going to be as relevant as the Olaf and the Tahm Kench, who feel invincible right now. It's a level 15 Tahm Kench in this game. And we see the replay here. I mean, just look at Tarzan's health when they decide to go on him. Because you have to keep your eye on it, because it just goes in an instant. Yeah, I mean, gets the hook in, and then we have the combo from the Aphelios, and I mean, the Orianna is just shredding. And then Flandre finds the follow-up, and they just have so much confidence. Like, let's just go. They have sort of no response that can come up from LNG to threaten them because of the sheer bulkiness. And now they're going to move on towards that dragon, and I don't see how LNG find a route in. If you fire CC out like the Ashe arrow, Olaf can soak it, Flandre can soak it, Thresh can lantern people out. And unless you're able to find a flank, I don't think you're going to do well here. But even if you do find a flank, this isn't Aphelios we're talking about. This is an Orianna we're talking about. We have 3 items in the Orianna with his Zonyas. Aphelios closing in on that Infinity Edge. These champions will decimate you.
They will. One-shot territory, right? Especially for, actually just for both. When that BF sword upgrades as Tarzan's in a flanking angle. But Meiko and Viper want to go on him, and Chanacross Arrow doesn't hit again. I'd say, it's going to stop hitting at Olaf, but I haven't seen Light hit an arrow this game.
Yeah, I mean, we've had this Ashe, Leona bot lane, so much engaged, so much CC, and it's just not being used. Oh, they're looking now. Oh, no, Meiko got a dark passage. Now it goes down from here, ladies and gentlemen. EDG have taken no damage. Bot keeps pushing in. Solar Flare with a death sentence. It's Lwandy again, but Viper can just go forward. The support for his third death. There's another one from Meiko. Wasn't I telling you this guy's Thresh is legendary? You've seen him with Death. Now watch him with Viper as Icon manages to dodge away. Scouts on the chase while EDG have a path into the base. And I think this has been a recurring theme for Icon, where he's just like dashing and gale forcing away from a lost fight. I feel like the last few encounters, that's kind of been the story of how things have finished out. At EDG, super confident, the engage comes in, they have the tools to disengage, and they just go back to pushing forwards. It just feels like they completely outmatch LNG at this point. 7,000 gold lead. They're going to push into the base, and there's no Baron to keep the minions tanky, but they don't care. There's just no one on LNG who can step up.
I mean, Giga Brain, easy clap win for game 1 for EDG. LNG never got off the ground. It was one turret as one play, and Icon gets hit away. EDG now with 4 versus 4 in the bottom lane. It's LNG on their last stand, but devoured up. It's Viper being saved as well. A good double play as Meiko dies, but Viper now has a lot of shurikens. He's kiting back. Somebody stop him. No, there's the second. Onto the third. It's happening again. He may drop down, but he's done enough damage. EDG still have their jungler versus Tarzan.
Honestly though, LNG, I think that's the best sort of scenario you can hope for. Scout wasn't there, and critically they focused everything onto Viper. He did a ton of damage in return, but it's kind of difficult for him to keep free hitting when he's being CC'd and targeted. But still, Scout's just looking to push in, take that inhibitor mid, take that tier 1 that tower.
God, this is stupid. I mean, when Gwen looks balanced, we look at Olaf and say, well, he's level 15. Tarzan's so behind in this game. And it is always nice seeing a Season 11 champion die. I'm not sadistic, but I have to say it's enjoyable.
I will agree. And I think the big thing here is the single damage threat, right? Viper gets targeted, he gets CC'd, they ult him, and as much as it keeps him alive, he's not doing damage when the Tahm Kench has him eaten. So he has to come out, stack up his chakrams again, but Ale jumps straight on him and locks him down. And if he didn't get stunned here, he'd probably just be able to shred everyone. But Light does finally take him out. But the problem is, yes, they managed to take out the Aphelios, which is the right call, but they committed so much to him that there's just no gas in the tank left for anyone else. And Jiejie is able to just step up and demolish. And then Tarzan, yeah, you don't win this.
The boys, this is Fight Club. Look at this. Just brawling for a little bit, and I'm surprised Jiejie won in the end, but he's 4-0-8. And, you know, just coming back to it, rounding out this now little bit wild game, I want to point out that it's okay, LNG have found Flandre. That's never the pick. Lwandy going in. They want Viper again, but Flandre's running away. Save the president. Viper at full HP, and Tarzan now using the needlework, but EDG look hungry. What have they eaten today? Flandre, nothing in the belly for now as Ale onto the back line and scout. They're putting a good effort forward, but the Abyssal Dive has now found Tarzan once again. Flandre not taking enough damage, the culling being blocked. And Viper's now rejoined the play. EDG with 4. They lost Meiko again. And the fact that LNG are getting anything is a testament to this team fighting back.
Yeah, I mean, they're fighting windows. Oh,
no, never mind. Never mind. Yeah, Tarzan, he wanted the red buff. And now at melee range, Viper may be wanting a bit too much as well. He puts out his ulti, but Icon's able to clean him up. Ale drops as well to triple kill with the shockwave missing out. Scout getting low, Super's crashing into the base. 1 versus 3. Flandre saves yet another vice president. And a quadra kill for Jiejie. That's going to be it.
Yeah, the Olaf is ignored. They're focusing on the carry, and he's just able to run amok. This is the big difference. If the Olaf is ahead, he just does so much work.
Give Penta.
Oh, no.
This could be Penta. Jiejie, let's go. Olaf, Penta. I'm so ready for it. There we go. Jungle v Jungle. Jungle diff in game 1, and EDG diff in game number 1 too.
We highlighted the matchup, and I think we have a very clear answer who came out ahead in that one. Jiejie just able to do absolute work on the Olaf in these team fights. Still didn't have a single death in that game, I believe, at the end of it, and getting that penta kill as well. The focus was on the carries, right, for LNG. They're like, we have to shut down Scout, we have to shut down Viper, and that just allowed him to run amok. And this is the big difference. If Olaf is behind, you could essentially ignore him. He just doesn't do that much. When he's ahead, though, in those close range fights, he just absolutely massacres everyone. And honestly, I have questions from the draft. There were definitely mistakes from LNG when it came to the fighting. But realistically, I just feel like bot lane wasn't able to find pressure. Top lane, you're against Tahm Kench. What can you really do? And then it was only really Icon who had pressure early, but it's like, against this composition of EDG, it's so hard to deal with. Just the fact that they have so much peel, so much bulkiness, such a great front to back. I mean, you kind of see the goal difference. It just hit that point where EDG said, okay, we're winning now.
It was like that 2.5, 3 item. No, it was 2 item spike when EDG started pushing the pressure down. Early dragons going over to them. LNG not having any windows to play through. I know you have an issue with the draft because LNG didn't really have any outlet, right? You know, Tarzan was always behind in the jungle, the highest scaling member on LNG, while the rest of the lanes weren't pulling enough of an advantage. Like top lane got solo killed early on, to the fact that when Flandre got dove, it didn't matter because Ale wasn't able to push tempo anywhere else.
Yeah, and I think as well, you know, enemy team picks Thresh. They pick Aphelios. You know what they're going to take when Thresh is open. They're going to take the Thresh. Sure. And you opt for Ashe Leona. Aphelios takes Cleanse, and you spend the whole laning phase just looking at them and just picking up waves and be like, hey, how's it going? Pretty good. How about you? And that was it. That was the entire laning phase for the bot lane. You pick this heavy engage and just, as you said, I don't think there was an arrow hitting for the first 25 minutes of that game.
If at all, right? I feel like the Ashe arrows were either melee or they didn't land at all. Really, really strong stuff.